time. The next item is going to be the rules and orders of proceedings. Just after the yellow pages, you'll see rules of orders. In any conference, in any congress, there's got to be rules of order for procedures in that conference. So, we are putting forth these rules so that they must guide us because we're a large group here. Remember, we are still on live feed. Okay? Do we all have them? The standard rules of order for the Congress. Shall I read them? Rules of the Congress of the People's Second National Congress are for procedures and for the Congress to exercise its power. 1. All delegates to Congress must punctually attend and remain in attendance of all Congress sessions. That's why I'm asking, stop roaming around. That's the first rule. The second rule is the decision of the chairperson for each session will be final and binding. But the chairperson must not be a dictator. Ne? 3, a delegate to Congress may only speak when so directed by the chairperson of the session. So even when you are in the commission, you must observe these rules because there will be different chairpersons there. Ne? 4, a delegate may indicate a desire to speak by raising his or her hand and awaiting the direction of the chairperson. Kolani, you heard that. We don't just stand up and speak. Thank you. 5, delegates will stand when speaking and direct their address to the chairperson, even in the commission. 6, every speaker must restrict him or herself strictly to the matter under this consideration. The matter on the agenda at that particular point is X. You must remain on X and not tell us about Y. 7, other than the tabling of reports or presentations, no speech shall exceed 2 minutes without the consent of the chairperson. Ne? Agreed, ne? No delegate may speak more than once on an item or proposal unless permission to do so is granted by the chairperson, provided that the mover of a motion shall have the right of reply, and the reply shall be confined to answering previous speakers and shall not introduce any new matter into the debate. Is it clear? Shall I repeat it again, Lifu? That's why I actually cut you earlier. It's this rule. No delegate may speak more than once on an item or proposal unless permission to do so is granted by the chairperson, even in the commission, provided that the mover of a motion shall have the right of reply, and the reply shall be confined to answering previous speakers and shall not introduce any new matter into the debate. 9, whenever the chairperson rises during debate, the delegate then speaking or offering to speak will seat him or herself and be silent so that the chairperson may be heard without interruption. The chairperson must not be the dictator at the same time, wanting to hear his voice alone. 10, no delegate will use offensive or objectionable language. 11, all delegates will respect confidentiality of a closed session. 12, comrade, hello? 12. Yeah. Cell phones will be switched to silent at all times. 13, fully participate and make positive contributions to all sessions to ensure a successful Congress. 14, treat all with dignity and respect. 15, the rules and orders of the party applies. So those are the standard rules of order. I don't know whether we take clarity first and then we go and vote on them. It's just standard rules of order that applies to Theo Gordon is a fighter on this thing. He fights all the time in the CNC that you must stick to the standard rules of order. Comrade Temvekin.
Can we please include that delegates be allowed to speak on any, in fact, in a language that they are comfortable with?
Okay.
If needs be, someone can interpret so that all the delegates can participate. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sure we will not disagree with that one, that you are free to speak in whatever language. The president did say that, no? Provided that there'll be an interpreter. Ne? Agreed? 16. Just wait for the mic.
Thank you, Chairperson. To have that discipline so that when the speaker is speaking there, you're giving us information. For us not to keep on continuing and coming back on the question, will it be better for the leadership when they are responding to number the questions and say, these are the 10 questions that we ask, we're not going to respond to you, Patini. So that we can be clear here, Comrade Chairperson. Right. For example, if you don't know how many people are voting, and then when you come with the results, then you said 30,000 people voted for so and so. But we know that in the country we have 50 million people. We don't know how many members of COPE that are voting. It's a simple question. If there is going to, so that we can have the nice discipline for the conference.
Okay. I'm sure that that can be taken. It's just advice. It's not a rule. Ne? Okay. Any other comment? None? GS.
If I'm not mistaken, the point that is being made is that a question was asked on how many voters. Comrades will get the exact number. When the CNC met, it was 605 something. Apparently, it has increased by about 600 since then. So the DGS later on will be giving us the full number, and then you can be able to see it in the system as well. Sorry, I forgot. I meant to actually answer that. Thanks.
Okay. Now, thank you very much. So I now put the rules for Congress to the House for adoption. Do I have a mover? Yeah, and then Comrade Farouk.
Chairperson, I move for the adoption of the...
What is your name?
Lifuano from Gauteng.
Thank you. Is there a seconder?
Chairperson, my name is Farouk Kasim. I wish to second that. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any counter motion? 1, 2, 3. So thank you very much, comrades. The rules for the Congress have been adopted with the amendment that we include 16, which is language diversity subject to interpretation. So please feel free to stand up and speak in. The President did say that in his input. Then the next item, General Secretary is going to deal with the tabling and adoption of this program as presented by the CNC. GS.
Thank you, Chair. Comrades, it's my honor to present the program of the Second National Congress of the Congress of the People. It is a document that you have before you and that we had already started dealing with. I'll just go very, very quickly through some of the areas in the program. When we finish with the presentation and adoption of the agenda, let me also say that we will not concentrate a lot on the time allocation. Because of the challenges, for example, with respect to voting, there's been an extension twice in terms of the time for voting. So we'll just go through the things and give an approximate time. Okay, so we're not going to concentrate on the actual time. Following this, we'll deal with the state of the party report, then financial report, and then at this point, DGS has asked that we should call her, because this is the historic point when the 2014 elected members of the CNC vacate their seats, and we will break for dinner. We will have our dinner, and then we'll have the announcements of the outcome of the vote. At this point, when the Mobitainment, the service provider, is receiving the results from everywhere where we have voted, the 9 people from the provinces, I hope all the provinces have presented their people, will go to the back. I don't know where the back, okay, from the IT perspective behind the machines, and look at the results as they come in. There'll be some kind of an IEC, and then the announcements will be made. I believe we are meeting somewhere, I think it's on top or somewhere. They'll tell us exactly where we will be meeting for the dinner and the announcements. So we'll start with the outcome of the vote of the president, and then he will take his seat. Deputy president will take his seat. General secretary, they'll take their seats, and so on and so forth. And then when we've concluded that, we'll have the CNC, and then we'll go to the chapters. I must say the chapters don't have all the positions declared. But the reason why we felt it was important to continue with the votes with those that had declared, because it is important to have some elected leadership for the chapters so that we can be able to strengthen them. And we will ask this Congress to enable a mechanism that the chapters will be able to fill in the vacancies that exist. I think the oncoming CNC can draft the specific procedures for that. So the chapters will be elected and go to the front. So you can see there, it's all there. The CNCs of the chapters will not go to the front because, remember, they are not part of the national CNC. So the leader and the secretary of the chapters will go to join the CNC once elected. Are we at one with that? Okay, thank you. Then, to close the night, this we still want to do tonight. Remember, we're on history-making mode. So this we still want to do tonight, so that when we go to sleep, we know the new leadership of the party. They will have been presented to us, and then the president will make a very brief acceptance speech on behalf of everybody. Just a brief speech just to accept the leadership. When we come tomorrow, we'll then go into the commissions. And by then, from then onwards, the people driving the Congress is the new leadership of the party. And then we will go, you can see here, I think everything is more or less self-explanatory in terms of the reports of the commissions and so on and so forth. The point I'd like to make at this point is also that on Sunday, we are going to have a joint thing, closing of the conference and launching of our manifesto. Now, I just want to say that we don't have a draft manifesto as such just now. So that commission that's going to be looking at the manifesto, as well as the other commissions that are discussing policy issues, our focus is the elections. So whatever it is that we are doing, I think some of the members of the CNC will be there. In some areas, when we were discussing the CNC, we were saying we might not have a detailed policy on something, but we might have, there was an expression used now, I can't remember, policy attitude or policy, what was that? Anyway, the point saying, for example, on this particular item, this is what we believe, this is the attitude of the party on this particular item, but not too many items, taking into account that we are going into elections, and we need to be able to look at what are the things that are important to South Africans and what is it that we are going to be able to do. So our launch of our manifesto and the closing meeting will be on Sunday. And then there will be the first meeting of the newly elected CNC and the outgoing CNC, a brief handover. Obviously, later on, the different officials will have more time to do more detailed handovers at that time. But in a meeting situation, that will be the meeting of the two CNCs and the official handover of that. Yeah, I think that is all. I do want to say, comrades, and I know we've belabored this point. Often when you're making history, you don't realize how historic the action that you are making is. I just want to stress again, what we are doing this weekend is very significant historically in our country. And let's step up to the plate and make sure that we do that. Thank you.
In another 10 years, when people reflect back 10 years, they will then say, these are the men and women who actually made history. And that they will say, we respect those men and women at that second Congress who actually gave us this wonderful thing. And all political parties must follow this thing. We're setting the standards here. Okay, comrades, I will, no, wait. You see, the standard rules of order says you shall raise your hand and then you shall be recognized. Thank you. Okay, you can now stand up and speak.
May I?
Yeah.
Thank you. My apologies, Comrade Chair, but I'm so excited because when we started this process this morning, out in the rural villages, it was chaos. But the silence is beautiful, and people are celebrating this event. And I would like this Congress to congratulate the team that they've been working so hard to make this the success that it's slowly but surely becoming. Thank you, Comrade Chair.
Thank you, thank you. Does that suggest that the short message here and the clapping of hands, does it suggest that we adopt this agenda? So I'm putting this agenda to the House for a vote. Any mover? There's a hand there, and then there's another hand there.
I'm Linda Graham, and I adopt the mover.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Jay Maharaj of Gauteng. I second the agenda for today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. The agenda of the Congress. Any objection? Any counter motion? 1, 2, 3, none. Give yourself a good round of applause. Thank you. We are done now. Comrades, we now, and ladies and gentlemen, we now have time to get the General Secretary to present the State of the Party report, which, is it included here? No, it's not, no? Where's the copy, sir? Do you have copies, sir? Yeah, okay. But you don't have copies? 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 Oh, okay. All right. I'm now handing over to the General Secretary to present a report.
Thank you, Chair. Comrades, let me start off by apologizing that you don't have it in your package, and we've not been able to send it out yet, because frankly, with all the work that I was doing, I wasn't able to finish it in the state that would be required. I hope tonight I'll be able to send it out to the CNC members. I only sent it to the CEC members. But what we're proposing, you will see that in the actual agenda, we provided about 45 minutes for each presentation as well as discussion. Because the idea when we were doing the agenda was that we would have circulated it before the Congress, so that people, by the time they come to the Congress, they would have seen it, and then the discussion would be shorter. Unfortunately, we were not able to do that, as I indicated. And what I'm proposing that we do is I present what I have here, and then we will send it electronically by tomorrow, so that, and we're proposing that the commission that's going to deal with the organizational matters, organizational development, actually deals with the issues, because a lot of the issues belong to that commission, as well as a bit to the commission on the Constitution. Having said that, in preparing the State of the Party report, we're guided by the elements in the Constitution that talk about the duties of the General Secretary, and I'll go through them very, very quickly. The first duty of the General Secretary, as stipulated in the Constitution, is to put effective measures in place for the smooth running of the party. This is the main political responsibility of the General Secretary, supported by the Deputy General Secretary. This, we normally call it the Office of the General Secretary or the Secretariat. In the Constitution, so that first task talks about placing measures for the smooth running of the party. Everything else that follows is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about 7 things are the administrative considerations that relate to that. So if you go to the part that talk about the tasks of the General Secretary.
Is it a point of order?
Comrade Chair, we do not have a written report on the state of the party. And we do have a written report on finances. So I don't know. I mean, in terms of section 9 of the Constitution, it says that we must have a report on the state of the party. And Comrade Lindol is saying it's coming. So I don't know, can't we pass that part so that we get a written report and allow the finance report maybe then to take that place? I'm actually worried that we are going to listen to Comrade Lindol, but there's no report in front of us. I'm not sure whether must we really allow this.
Yeah, no, Chair, I'm quite okay with that. What we'll do is to just get the printed copies. As I said, I just didn't have the time to finish it so that it can go for printing and everybody has it. But it can be circulated tomorrow in time for the commission. Then, I don't know, we'll have to find a way of presenting it because we will be in commissions. Then, you know, everybody would be able to have it. I don't know if that's acceptable. We're quite fine with that.
All right, there's no serious objection to what are you proposing? That we can delay it and then deal with the next issue. Is that all right?
Yeah. Can I make a proposal, Chair? Because tomorrow in the morning we won't be in plenary. If it is okay, we do the distribution of the written report to everybody, but it's actually presented in the Organizational Development Commission. Then they can incorporate it as part of this thing. So everybody would have the written report. My concern is that tomorrow we're not sitting in the morning like this in plenary, so that it can be presented then in that committee.
But shouldn't we spend 30 minutes tomorrow morning just in plenary?
Okay, we can make those arrangements.
Look, what we'll do is tomorrow morning we'll then spend about 30 minutes in plenary just to table the report, and then it goes to the commissions. Is that in order? At least the commissions are not far apart in the town of Bloemfontein. They are in one convenient hotel. Is that all right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, then at this time, we will then ask the National Treasurer to present his report. He says he'll need 30 minutes so that we can break for dinner. He will not read line by line, but he will speak to it. Is that all right? Thank you. National Treasurer, Acting National Treasurer, Tebogo Loate.
No, you know. Well, actually, Chair, thank you, but you should have said the outgoing acting. You know, it's nice when you have come to the end of acting, then you can be the sleeping National Treasurer. Yeah, very, very, very tired. President, comrades, let me thank you. And as I have already alluded to the chair, that I'm going to try not to read line by line, but I will speak to some of the issues so that we are able to run through. And then just to flag some other things, you'll realize that the report is structured into, you know, it's divided in two ways. There's the narrative, which is what I want to speak to, and then there's the audited financial statements from the time when I started up to today, when I leave. So, and I hope in the narrative we will be able to identify some of the things that tomorrow when we go into discussions and when we start to plan ahead, we would be able to have taken some of the issues and we would be able to plan around those issues. And then also, lastly, before I go into the report, I just want to take you to page 13 of that report. Now, page 13 of that report, item 8, speaks to a 5-year budget. Now, it's not included in this report, but just to indicate that there is a 5-year plan budget that would be as part of a handover to the incoming executive. I will then be able to hand over so that that executive then can look at it and then they can decide how to move forward. Now, let me go into this narrative and say that what I'm reflecting here is history that most of us know and we can actually identify with it. That when we started this party, many of us, I'm sure, can claim to have been the founders of the Congress of the People. We committed ourselves and declared that we are going to form a party based on principles to defend the South African Constitution. This commitment and declaration that formed our vision was based in our belief that the country was being taken on in a wrong political direction by those in power and therefore deviating from the expressions in the Freedom Charter. Now, COPE, as an alternative party that is founded on principles and values, we committed ourselves to the rule of law, accountability, transparency, responsiveness, and, of course, responsibility. At the center of the above, COPE is a party established on a collective belief in good governance and responsiveness to delivering a service to all South Africans. As part of our commitment and belief, it therefore remains paramount to continuously strive for public finance accountability, transparency, effective and efficient usage of resources be it internal within our own party or external as public representatives. As a party mindful of our commitment to establish and operate in a responsible manner, we should seek to continue and strengthen our financial muscles within the confines of good practice, setting a good example within our limited financial resources. Our historical venue has not been a pleasant one, and I'm sure even the President slightly reflected on that. And it has not been without difficulties, but we are still here today. As COPE members, must never forget this experiential journey that we have been through testing times. As we continue to write our own history, we shall continue to remind ourselves that this party has, through the period in time, been through testing moments of internal strifes that without determination of all individuals who kept on believing in its existence, it could have disappeared into history. And here I'm talking about the exodus that we experienced of key senior political members as well as other ordinary members that followed them in this move. This casted doubts on our survival, but here we are in our 10th year of existence, still committed to our founding principles and upholding our values. We continue to play a significant role towards building a better country for all, and we remain amongst those who can save and serve the people of our country. In our strive for a better party that must contribute towards a better and prosperous society, we must never forget to rid ourselves of the ills and experiences of our past. We must continue to use our experience to rid ourselves of the mistrusts, factional groupings, rumor mongering, and possible self-destructive attitudes and practices. We must take all efforts and make these self-destructive tendencies foreign practices in COPE. We must foster to set good examples of what should be of a modern political party. Obviously, there will always be many demands for high levels of rationalism and listening to and deciding on approaches we must apply to address many aspects. As for me, since being elected during the Bloemfontein Special Congress in 2015 to serve in this position as acting National Treasurer of this party, until today, I stand here to submit my final report. It has been a great learning curve with good, bad, exciting moments, and at certain times not so much exciting. Today, I present this final report to this Congress, bringing to the end my term of service to the party in this position, as this gathering is expected to elect a new National Treasurer who expectedly should enter and occupy this position hitting the ground running, determined to remain focused on everyday's demands. Now you will see, you will know, all of us, that one of the duties of the National Treasurer is to establish is to establish the National Finance Committee. Now this you'll find in section 12.8.7. This committee should ideally be made up of provincial treasurers and as well as members or members of the parliamentary caucus. Now, in my term, 2 meetings of this committee took place over a period. The initial meeting was convened on the 12th of August 2017, where all provincial treasurers, and a provision was made to invite also members of the legislatures and provincial secretaries, because at that time, not all provinces had provincial treasurers. So we had to make provisions that at least provinces should either be represented by their secretaries, or where there are MPLs, that the MPLs should be present at the meeting. At this initial meeting, provinces were provided with a reporting template in order to assist in having a uniform format of reports. Unfortunately, the ideal could not be realized due to several different reasons. This resulted in some provinces failing to complete the template or submit. Worse has been those provinces that simply chose to stay away. The situation prompted a second attempt to reconvene, which was on the 14th of October 2017, in order to provide some time to the provincial CPCs to meet and elect acting provincial treasurers where applicable and complete the template. At this meeting, proposals for amendments to the finance policy were going to be tabled. Now, in terms of attendance per province, and the way I have put them, it's not they have not been put in preference of importance. Gauteng was represented by the provincial treasurer at that meeting, and due to family commitments, the provincial treasurer could not attend the second meeting. Now, the province is not having a representative in the provincial legislature, or it doesn't have an MPL. Therefore, it does not receive any funding from government. So no financial reports could be submitted at both meetings. The Northern Cape, at the first meeting, the province was represented by the provincial treasurer and the MPL, but the MPL had to leave because the MPL, who is the outgoing chairperson, had to leave the meeting because he had another commitment in the Northwest. Now, with the second meeting, there was no apologies tendered. The province is represented in the provincial legislature, and therefore, it has the following accounts: the party political fund, constituency account, and the office account. So the province has bank accounts in the name of the party. But when we go further, I'll give more detail as per province, because this relates to meetings in the main. Northwest, since there was no formal provincial structure in existence, because at that time there was only the acting provincial secretary. Because of a number of CPC members who had left, the position of the provincial treasurer has been vacant, and the province was represented by the acting provincial secretary at both meetings. The province has no representation in the legislature, and therefore it doesn't receive any funds from government. Mpumalanga, the province is not represented in the legislature and receives no funds from government and had no bank accounts. The then provincial secretary represented the province because there was no elected provincial treasurer, and nobody represented the province at the second meeting. Western Cape, the province is not represented in the legislature and has no bank accounts. The acting provincial treasurer, I think at the time of the first meeting, if I'm not mistaken also, I think he was made aware by myself that he's the acting provincial treasurer. He was somewhere in Canada basking in the sun. He didn't know, but I can tell you, immediately when he heard that, he took the next flight and he was at the meeting from Canada. So, the acting provincial treasurer. The Eastern Cape, the province is represented by one MPL who had attended both meetings. There has not been a formal CPC there because there was a task team that was appointed by the CNC to be in the Eastern Cape. The party has accounts and then reports. In fact, they have, at any given time, they have been submitting audited statements. The Free State is not represented in the provincial legislatures, therefore it doesn't receive money from government. At the first meeting, there was no attendance, but at the second meeting, the provincial treasurer attended. KZN, the treasurer did not attend the first meeting due to communication problems. The province has banking accounts that have remained frozen for ages following a CNC decision. Although there's no representation in the provincial legislature, these accounts have funds in them, and those funds are getting exhausted by bank charges. Limpopo, in both meetings, there has never been representation from the province, regardless of the fact that invitations went out on those two occasions. The province has a representative in the provincial legislature, therefore it receives money from government. And therefore they have the accounts in the name of COPE in the banks. And then in Parliament, caucus is represented by the DGS. Now, the second Finance Committee meeting was convened on the 21st of July 2018 at Mana Lodge, and the following were discussed and agreed to. Provinces would make and send out inputs on the agreed financial reporting format. Just to explain, we discussed how we're going to report on the finances, and the meeting agreed on a format. Now, the agreement as well was that this format, provinces would, treasurers would then use the same format to report in their own provinces, so that then it makes it easy that when they send the report from provinces, then they just get compiled as a uniform format. The consulted format, as I have said, would then have been sent, and then it would have then been tabled before the CNC. We also discussed the current COPE finance manual, with the intention that provinces must go and discuss and raise areas where that manual should be either updated or should be reviewed. Unfortunately, there hasn't been any feedback from provinces. Now, status as referred to provinces. The following covers the representations made by provinces. The Northern Cape, there is a functional office with assets. The province has one MPL in the provincial legislature, as I've said. And then the province has accounts. There have been allegations of existing Standard Bank account under the control of the provincial leadership. the existence of this account was confirmed. And then it has been alleged and confirmed by the PEC at the meeting that this account receives funds from people. In the current internal dispute, it has also emerged that the same account has been used to transfer money within the party and across the accounts. There have been reports of decisions for payments of salaries. Now, to get the province to adhere to internal party regulations, the CEC instituted a hold on the provincial accounts at one stage, but after the meeting that I've referred to, that hold was lifted. In attempting to resolve this matter, the CEC also assigned the party accountant to visit the province to investigate the finances and report back. Currently, there's a draft report from the party accountant. And my last communication with him, he was to go back to the province to go and finalize his report. So, to date, challenges are still there regarding this account. It needs to be audited. Then we move to Limpopo. The province does not have an operational office. Now, quickly, the story behind it is that at an auction, the province secured a house from an auction. But that house was taken back because the money to purchase that house was never paid. And yet that money was taken from the books, from the party books, and we are still looking for that money. It's somewhere. We have, given the situation, in an attempt to get control and put things in order, we had to intervene and freeze the provincial accounts. We have also tried to investigate the party funds, but the situation ultimately led to an outcome where there was a disciplinary action taken against the MPL, who ultimately resigned from the party. We were in and out of courts, having to try to protect the party funds. A second investigation was launched by the CEC, where we also requested the party accountant to visit the province during the 21st and the 25th October 2017 to do the following things. First, to meet with the COPE bookkeeper in the provincial legislature in Leboakgomo in order to assist in the compilation of financial records for an independent team, which we had also identified, which was going to go into the province. And then second, to meet with the Office of the Legislature Control Systems Manager to request any information they could provide, given that nothing could be secured from our own legislature office. The Control Systems Manager was able to provide payment reports and budgets made by our party. Also, he was able to facilitate a meeting with the political liaison, party liaison officer in the legislature, who, after consultation with the secretary, agreed to draw copies of the annual financial statement submitted to the legislature by our former MPL. Also, we had requested our accountant to collect all bank statements for the Limpopo Party Political Fund as well as the constituency fund from their inception to date. This included copies of those checks which we were trying to follow, and then finally to meet and collect any documentation and audited reports from the provincial auditing accountants of Limpopo. Then there was a second visit. With this one then, because remember, with all these things that we are trying to resolve, the Limpopo legislature took a decision to withhold the party money. So the money was not released to the province. It was held by the legislature, and they were saying you need to sort out your things and report before we can release this money. So on the second visit of the 13th to the 20th of April, 2018, we had then to deal specifically with that thing, with that particular aspect. Now, what is encouraging is that the secretary confirmed that the legislature would be inclined to release COPE funds for the 2018 financial year without the 2017 annual financial statements, on condition that we show that COPE has adequate management procedures in place to manage the funds going forward. However, we would forfeit the 2017 funds that were withheld. The Northwest, they don't have an office. The office that was there was taken over by the landlord for non-payment of rent. And the landlord also in the process decided to auction or sell our furniture in order to recover his money. And then there were allegations as well of a bakkie that was bought in the name of the if I'm not mistaken, it's a bakkie and a car, but with the bakkie it was definite that it's a bakkie. Bought through COPE money, but registered in an individual's name. And when this person left the party, the bakkie also disappeared. Now, there was, in trying to follow this, we could not find any single document that was proving the allegation. But the bakkie was bought. So, there still remains challenges to access provincial bank accounts, because what has happened there is that signatories to the account had left the party for both the DA and the ANC respectively, and the bank has been saying that we must submit letters of resignations from this. You know, it's so funny, just to let the conference know that at times you find this bank, one bank operating in different ways. You go to this bank, they say, no, in terms of our constitution, the national treasurer is the person who can give us direction. You go to the other one, they say, no, 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 no. In terms of our own internal arrangements is that this is how you will work. So in particular in this one, we are stuck with a bank that says, no, give us letters of resignations from those who are signatories, which is very strange. But that's the situation. The Eastern Cape, there is a COPE office and as well as 3 constituency offices in operation. The province operates accounts in the name of the party because we have got an MPL in the legislature, therefore we are receiving money from government. Because of allegations, CEC took a decision as well also to send in an accountant to go and investigate the books in order to establish what is going on. A draft report has been handed in, and then the plan is for the accountant to go back to finalize this report. Gauteng has an office with equipment, but it must be noted that Gauteng is not in the legislature, so it's not receiving money from government. So at the time of the first finance meeting, it was reported that the province has some kind of an account, but then the provincial treasurer had given an indication that she wasn't too clear as to what is happening in that account. Now, this particular aspect that I'm reflecting on Gauteng, you find also being the practice in other provinces. That in some other instances, councillors are made, provinces took a decision against a national decision that councillors would pay their levies into a national account. But provinces took decisions that their councillors would pay into their own accounts. Now, the simplest aspect about it, where we should begin, is that those provinces who have instituted such a decision must actually audit those books, because it needs to be cleared as to what that money was used for. The Western Cape, is not represented in the provincial legislature, and therefore they don't have an office, and they are not receiving money from government. I've already mentioned the acting provincial treasurer then, but of significance was a case that we had with receiver of revenue for non-payment of pay-as-you-earn and UIF, but this matter has been resolved. KZN, I have already indicated to you that there are accounts that are lying dormant there, and some of them, the money is getting exhausted by through bank charges. Now, as a party, we operate the following accounts, but these accounts are sources through which the party is having money, and they have been opened in the name of the party. These accounts are operated as either prescribed funds, which are regulated by IEC, Parliament, or legislature. Other funds are operated as unprescribed, and these relate to funds that you find in the membership, public representatives levies, donations. And I must just indicate to you that the one why I have that mobilization in brackets is because we had to change the name of the account. Now, the name that operates now is Cope Mobilization Account, but it's used for people who would like to make any donation. We have, in terms of systems, the party has a finance manual that has not been amended to date since it was adopted. The manual also has in it procedures and forms that should be used in any systematic requirement. Unfortunately, the manual is not being fully applied in a number of circumstances. It could be that because we are not running fully fledged offices, because some of the documentations in those manuals, you'll find disappointment forms, all those things. So it was to make it easy that when offices operate, then we could use that to sign contracts and do the rest of the other things. Then fundraising, which would be the last on this. A number of attempts were taken and some of these initiatives could not bear envisaged results due to a number of reasons, such as constant contestation between national and provinces on seeking financial support from the same source. If you have got a Mr. X and you know that national has been there, and then as a province, after that visit from national, you also go and you are going to ask for the same thing. I mean, under normal circumstances, any funder that takes him or herself serious will simply think that there's no order in this party. Everybody's running amok. And then also attempts were made to secure professional assistance in the form of fundraisers. Unfortunately, with the last attempt, we were not successful because we could not agree on what needed to happen, what the engagement between the fundraiser and ourselves as a party. The one thing also that we still needs to be explored and investigated, it's about COPE paraphernalia. My argument as the outgoing treasurer is that I know we are a party that wants votes, but the amount of monies that we have spent on T-shirts has not given us the ideal number of votes that we want. So for me, it's a bad investment. So we need to think about that. I'm just saying it's what I'm thinking, that it's a bad investment, that if we spend 3 million rands to buy, let's say, just 3 million T-shirts, why are we not getting 3 million votes as a start? Why should we get 500 votes having spent 3 million and distributed 3 million T-shirts? So I'm just flagging this thing as we need to think going forward. In some other cases, experience that I've seen is that in some other places, members buy themselves those type of things. They are not given out free, they buy. So I'm raising this because that's another area where we could be raising funds as a party. That we have this, and then at the same time, our own members buy all sorts of whatever. You can think of whatever we want to produce that our members can use and buy. So as I have said, you've got there attached, Chair, I'm closing now, attached to this report is the financials, the audited financial statements. And that brings me to the end of my lifespan in this position. And I want to thank everybody. In fact, I want to thank the Congress of the People for giving me an opportunity to can operate in that area for the 2.5 years, if not 3 years. I want to thank the members of the executive for the support that they have given me throughout the years. Provinces that have been there, that we have worked together. At times, you know, where you work and you have different views. Obviously, there will always be those times when there are tensions. But I'm convinced that we still remain friends and comrades. So thank you very much.
Right, thank you, Acting National Treasurer, outgoing Acting National Treasurer, for your report. which outlines the state of affairs as it relates to the finances of the party, and the work that has been done under sometimes very difficult and challenging circumstances. But as he notes in his report, we are here, and we will be here next year, and in 10 years' time, and in 20 years' time, we shall be stronger, we shall be powerful, we shall govern this country. Do you doubt it? No. We shall govern this country. Yes. That's what we are going to do. Yes. But we're not going to take money from Bosas, and we're not going to take money from VBS. No. And we're not going to take money from Guptas. No. And we're not going to take money from tenders. No. We're going to make sure that we go out here and we fundraise and we build our party through the sheer hard work and sweat of the membership of the party. We will grow this party. Just like we are voting and members are voting and they are in control of their party, so they must actually make contributions to build a party and make it stronger. So thank you, Acting National Treasurer. It's 7 o'clock. Can you put your hand down? In terms of the arrangement is that we are going to discuss this in that commission. In that commission on Commission 1, building the party. There's going to be there, you are going to have enough time tomorrow. Enough time. For now, we are merely tabling the reports. Tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock, we will be in plenary and get a secretary's report, and then from there we go into commissions. And then we talk about strategies of how to build a party going forward, given this experience that we are facing. I mean, that has been presented to us. Because I want us to break for dinner, because we still have to come back. 1. 2 is that we have to make sure that the workers who work here and serve us must go home. We can't keep them for longer. That is the other challenge. Are there questions of clarity? Clarity. One, there's one here. Where's the other mic? Oh, there's one here. And then there's, okay, there's one here. There's one there. 2 minutes, ne?
Community Chairperson, thank you very much.
Wait, I didn't say you must speak. It's questions of clarity, isn't it? We're not going to go into the substance of the issues. Kana, who's next? Kolan. Okay, 2 minutes as per the rules.
Community Chairperson, thank you very much for your time. I would like to stipulate that this is not a question, but it's a clarification on the report that was given as a true perspective of exactly what transpired. One, in Limpopo, Congress of the People did not go and bid at the auction. We did not bid. There was a person who bid, bought the house, and then COPE bought the house from that person. So I wanted to clarify that one. We did not go to bid, but it was somebody bid, bought the house, and then we bought the house from that person. And then it was done during the era of the previous MPL. And then the money that the house was bought in, that was bought with, it is still in the custody of the RTD, who has the responsibility of transferring the house into COPE's name. And we knew very well that there was a challenge during that time with regard to transferring of the property into COPE. So that is one thing that I wanted to clarify this house so that we should get a true reflection of what is happening. The other thing that I wanted to say is that maybe the upcoming leadership should be able to assist, because we wanted, upon receiving the money as the province, to follow it on with the attorney who has our money, because he has our money, so that we can be able to, one, decide on making sure that the house is then ours, or the money is brought back home where it belongs. So there are two things that we need to make sure that that is done, because the money is in the trust account. The other thing that I wanted to clarify, Honorable Chairperson, is the challenges of ABSA. That we have a bank account of ABSA that was frozen, and there was this national person who was not cooperating with us as far as the monies are concerned, and there is an X amount of money that is kept in ABSA that we still need to get. This house must be clarified that we have been communicating with Heike Meyer. I'm sorry I'm saying that, but unfortunately she's not coming to party as far as that is concerned, because we need the money. And there has been another account that was open.
Your time is up.
Okay.
Your time is up. Thank you. Papiki Ngezi.
Thanks, Chairperson. I just need clarity. In the financial reports, we do have an IEC audited report. We also have a constituency fund audited report. We also have a parliamentary audited report. But are we, tomorrow when we go to commissions, going to get a levy, a public representatives levy audited report? Are we also going to get COPE mobilization fund audited report and membership fund? Because they are also important for us to have substantive discussions tomorrow. I don't see them here. So that's the clarity I need. We only have 3 out of the 6 operational accounts we have as a party. Thank you.
Okay. Olani, 2 minutes.
Thank you once again, Chair. My question is based mostly on the registration fees that we some had to pay in terms of coming to the Congress. Now, my question is that because I see nothing has been said about those, have all members who are here actually paid those registration fees for 200 rands? And if not, how is it possible that we are sitting here with people who haven't paid those registration fees, or were they cancelled? If they were cancelled, what will happen to those who have paid those 200 rands already? Those are my questions.
Okay, thank you. Kenny? 2 minutes. Oh, no.
Thank you, Chair.
Yes.
Mine is just a clarity, a bit of clarity. Am I to understand that those levies for representatives, the provinces are allowed to collect them for themselves so long as they are going to audit them? Thank you.
Okay. Fred?
Thank you, Chairperson. I'm taking the acting treasurer to page 5. There's a 1.5 million in that account. And according to that statement there, the IEC nominated the account was therefore not solely used for IEC funding, which is a contravention of section 61A. The clarity is which monies are that 1.5? Then these are audited statements, which is annually given, but you don't get financial statements on a quarterly basis. You don't see that so that you can see the detail of how it was spent. It's also I'm checking this account because I also want to find out, there was court outcomes which revealed that those people are accountable and they must pay for that monies and for court cases. It's silent, the report on it. There was also monies that were stolen that were given back through court cases, and we also does not know what that says. because I could see when you dealt with provinces, you went into details. I want to check also the policy, and if we don't have one, we must consider it over this weekend. The allocation of funds to provinces where there's no income, because we can't expect them to perform the same way than those that have income. So allocations of resources are very important in a party that have structures and 9 structures in any way. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you. Bula.
Thank you very much, Chair. Chair, I must first applaud the acting treasurer for at least a very good attempt towards accountability and transparency on our finances. It's a good attempt as far as I'm concerned. But I just want, like the other 2 last comrades here, to find out from page 5, where we're saying national finance committees. Is it deliberate that we only are told about the committee that was supposed to be established and not details of how national account is actually handled, particularly? Or is it perhaps a matter that we should link up with the page 12, where tabulation of accounts are actually made? What accounts are we using, without even mentioning anything that comes to each account? Thirdly, is there somewhere where we're going to find out so-called supporting documents? Because financial statements are not complete without that. I know it's a bulky thing, but it's supposed to be a reference point to deal with audited accounts without supporting documents. It's like shooting in the dark and rendering ourselves vulnerable for some misleading information. Those are just issues, Chair, in preparation for the commissions we're heading to tomorrow. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Lastly, Lifu Hano. You must wait your turn.
Thanks, Chairperson. I think I'm going to have just 2 questions, but my concern is the financial statement of 2014 and 2015. That's the company had accumulated losses of 7,758,288, and that company totally liability exceeds its asset by the same amount. You see, it's where the problem is, because we are accumulating monies that we don't have. And the problem is, as Comrade Fred said, we've been winning the cases, but you didn't tell us, how far have you collected those money? Where are those money? Because now the court have instructed those people that to pay the cost of the court. You see? So please, Chairperson, next time when you come to us, come up with updated financial statement. But let me say again, the issue of Gauteng, I think Gauteng, we have to say it. There's no councillors in the whole country of Congress of the People who are paying more than councillors of Gauteng. We have carried that office on our shoulder because we wanted the office to be there. You see, we are paying more than even the percentage that National have put it and say, this is the percentage that councillors should contribute. But we have said, no, for the sake of Congress of the People, guys, we have to bite the bullet. Let's contribute to keep this organization up. But, comrade, we are not going to keep quiet. Whilst we have an account in KwaZulu-Natal that is being closed and frozen, but nationally we are doing nothing. Because now you're supposed to go and tell us now, when are you going to get that money? You don't have money now to run the election.
I'm not shutting you up, but your time is up. 2 minutes is finished. Thank you. There was a last hand at the back there. I'm not going to open any further. Comrade, you have to come forward because these people don't see you. You are hiding behind that. That's why I don't even see you. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, now
Tata.
Yeah, futhi lo report lengithola namhla ngivuka ngibusisa. Ngoba nathi sabana lenkinga ukuthi ibank yethu eMpumalanga ifreeze lekathi kusana umakezali. Badla imali. Kwagcina lapha zange sithola impendulo ukuthi kuhambe njani ngale mali leyo. Ngiyabonga.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Can somebody quickly interpret? Who can quickly interpret? Are you, Kolani, are you doing it?
I'm interpreting. The comrade is saying there's some finances in Mpumalanga that the comrades actually used it for personal gains, and they wanted to understand how far with the recovery of those finances. Am I right? Thank you.
Okay, good. Thank you. There's a very last hand there.
Thank you, Chairperson. My name is Harris Sibeko from the Western Cape. What I want to say is that we all here to say we want to win the elections. And sure, we are going to work hard. But what you are always talking about is corruption. You'll always listen when the president is talking, don't steal the money of the people, don't do this and do this. What are we doing about people who are taking a bakkie and the bakkie is gone, the person is gone? What are we doing with that, comrades? Because we cannot allow people to do that, because tomorrow I'll do that, the same thing, and if you take me to jail, I'll ask you why you didn't do that to that one. Thank you.
Okay, let's do this. Can I need your cooperation in this regard? We have noted, all hands down, all hands down. We have noted the questions. My challenge is that these workers must leave. So we noted the questions. We must break for dinner, come back and then offer the answers, and then do the rest of the other things that needs to be done. If you can just keep that, comrades. Wait, I have not said that you must go. What is standing rule order number what? Thank you. Order, who said we must leave? Wait. Yes, a new proposal. Yes, a new proposal. We're going to break. Is that these questions that have been asked, let's go into that commission on building the organization, Commission 1. And then the National Treasurer will be there to explain some of these so that when we report back in the plenary again from the commissions, if there are questions that have not been answered, the National Treasurer can still explain it in plenary. But so that we should not come back after dinner to answer the questions, because we've got other stuff that we must deal with after dinner. So with that, comrades, I'm going to ask us to adjourn. Huh? No. Order. Comrades, I haven't adjourned the meeting. Order. No, I haven't said we can go. Please, come. Can you sit down? I was just indicating what we are going to do. I haven't said I'm adjourning the meeting now. Comrades, can we adjourn the meeting? We should be back here at, shall we say, 8:30?